Come, sit down. I want to ask you something before I begin. Who is the person you call when your marriage is struggling? Who is the person you cry to at midnight when things are hard? Who is the person that knows everything, your fears, your weaknesses, the parts of your relationship that you have never told anyone else? For Amara, that person was Sade, her best friend of 14 years, her maid of honor, the woman who held her hand in the delivery room when her first child was born. The woman she called sister not because they shared blood, but because she believed with her whole heart that some friendships run deeper than blood. She was wrong. Come, let me tell you what Sade did with everything Amara trusted her with. Amara and Sade had been friends since university in Accra. The kind of friendship that forms when you are young and certain and the world feels like it belongs to both of you equally. They were different women. Amara was quieter, thoughtful, steady, the kind of person who thinks before she speaks and means everything she says. Sade was louder, brighter, the kind of woman who walks into a room and rearranges it just by being there. They balanced each other. They needed each other. When Amara met Michael, a soft-spoken architect from Kumasi, it was Sade who said first, "Amara, that man loves you. Don't overthink it." She was right. Michael did love Amara. They married in a small church ceremony in East Legon. Sade stood at the altar beside Amara in a gold dress, holding her bouquet, crying happy tears. For the first few years, everything was as it should be. Then life did what life does. It got heavy. By their 5th year of marriage, Amara and Michael were struggling. Not dramatically, there was no shouting, no big explosion, just a slow, quiet pulling apart. Michael was working long hours on a construction project outside the city. Amara was home with 2 small children, exhausted, feeling unseen. They were 2 people living in the same house but occupying different worlds. Amara did what she always did when things got hard. She called Sade. She told Sade everything, that she felt lonely, that she and Michael were not connecting the way they used to, that some nights she cried in the bathroom because she did not want to worry anyone. She told Sade the specific things Michael did that hurt her, the silences, the distance, the moments she reached for him and he was not really there. Sade listened. She said all the right things. She said, "You deserve better. You deserve a man who sees you." What Amara did not know, what she could not have imagined, was that Sade was filing all of it away. Every weakness, every complaint, every crack in that marriage, like a woman studying a door, looking for the right key. It started, Sade would later say, with her just being there for Michael. Michael was also struggling in the marriage. He felt like he could not do anything right. He was working hard and coming home to a wife who was hurt and tired and distant, and he did not know how to bridge the gap. He felt like a failure in his own home. Sade knew all of this because Amara had told her every detail. So when Sade began reaching out to Michael just to check on him, just as a friend, just as someone who cared about their family, Michael was grateful. Here was someone who understood, someone warm, someone who was not looking at him with quiet disappointment. One message became many messages became phone calls, phone calls became meetings Amara knew nothing about, and all the while Sade was still sitting in Amara's kitchen, still praying with her, still telling her to be patient, that God would restore her marriage. She was praying with Amara for a marriage she was quietly destroying. I want you to sit with that for a moment. She was praying with Amara for a marriage she was quietly destroying. Amara found out on a Tuesday afternoon. She had borrowed Michael's phone to make a call. Her own battery was dead. She was not looking for anything. She was not suspicious. She just needed to make one call. The message came in while the phone was in her hand. It was from Sade. I will not tell you what it said, but I will tell you that Amara read it twice. Then she sat down on the kitchen floor slowly, the way a person sits down when their legs have stopped working, and she stayed there for a long time. When Michael came home that evening, she was still sitting at the kitchen table. She had not cooked. She had not moved. She had just been sitting with the weight of what she now knew. She put the phone on the table in front of him. She did not shout. She did not cry. She asked him one question. How long? He told her 8 months. She nodded. She stood up. She went to the bedroom. She locked the door. She did not come out until the next morning. And the first person she thought to call, the person her hand reached for automatically in her worst moment, was Sade. That is when the full cruelty of it hit her. The person she needed most in that moment was the person who had done this to her. Sade had not just taken her husband. She had taken her safe place. She had taken the person Amara ran to when things fell apart. And now things had fallen apart in a way that Amara could not run to anyone about. Sade called many times. Amara did not answer. She sent messages, long ones, full of explanations and apologies in scripture. Amara read every one of them. She did not reply to a single one. Michael moved out. He said he needed space to think. Amara let him go without a fight, not because she did not love him, but because she was so hollowed out she did not have the energy to fight for something she was not sure she still recognized. For weeks, Amara moved through her days like a woman underwater. She fed her children, she went to work, she came home, she put the children to bed, and then she sat in the quiet and tried to understand how the two people she had trusted most in the world had looked her in the face Sunday after Sunday, dinner after dinner, and felt nothing. Her mother came to stay, an older woman, practical, plain-spoken, Ghanaian to her bones. She did not offer many words. She just cooked and cleaned and sat beside Amara in the evenings. One night Amara said, "Mom, I gave that woman everything. I gave her my secrets. I gave her my trust. I gave her access to my home, my husband, my children, and she used all of it against me." Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Yes, she did, and you cannot change that. The only question now is, are you going to let what she did determine who you become? Because bitterness, my daughter, is just another person living in your house rent-free, and you have already had enough uninvited guests." Amara went to church the following Sunday, not because she felt like it, because she decided that she would not let Sade take that from her too. Michael came back 3 months later. Not with grand gestures, not with flowers and speeches. He came back and sat across from Amara at the dining table and said, "I have been a coward. Not just for what happened with Sade, but for the years before it, for the distance, for making you feel invisible, for not fighting for us when we were struggling. I am not asking you to forgive me today. I am asking you for the chance to show you that I understand what I broke." Amara looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "I will not decide today, but I will not decide never either. Come back on Sunday. We will go to the pastor together." They went to counseling. It was slow. It was painful. There were sessions where Amara sat across from Michael and felt nothing but anger, and sessions where she felt something softer underneath the anger, and she did not know which feeling frightened her more. But she stayed in the room. Every week she stayed in the room. And slowly, not quickly, not dramatically, things began to shift. Not back to what they were, forward into something new, something that had been tested in a way most marriages never are, and had chosen, despite everything, to continue. Let me tell you what Amara's story teaches us. First, be careful who you give your full story to. Amara gave Sade everything: her fears, her marriage's weaknesses, her husband's struggles. Not every person who sits in your kitchen deserves that level of access. Loyalty has to be earned over time, not assumed because of history. Second, the deepest betrayals come from the closest people. An enemy cannot hurt you the way Sade hurt Amara. Only someone you have loved, fed, prayed with, and trusted can reach that deep, which means the size of the wound tells you something about the size of the love that was there, and that love, misplaced as it was real. Grieve it and then release it. Third, bitterness is a prison you build for yourself, but the other person never has to live in. Amara chose deliberately to go back to church, to stay in the counseling room, to not let what Sade did become the loudest voice in her life. That was not weakness. That was the hardest kind of strength there is. Amara told me something. About a year after all of this, she said, "I used to think forgiveness meant pretending it didn't happen. Now I understand that forgiveness means deciding that what she did will not have the last word over my life. Sade gets to live with what she did. That is enough. I do not need to carry it too. If someone has betrayed you, especially someone you loved and trusted here, you are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to be angry. You do not have to pretend it was not as bad as it was. But at some point you have to decide, are you going to let their choice become your life sentence? Because you deserve better than that. And you already know it. That is Amara's story. I have told you all of it. If it touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you called a friend? This is a safe place to speak. Subscribe to Betrayal Patterns. Every week I sit down and tell you a story. Real stories about real choices, and what those choices build or quietly, slowly destroy. I will see you next time. Take care of yourselves.